Miss Wright, this opportunity to go abroad is incredibly rare. Many people would kill for this chance. Are you sure you don't want to reconsider? The professor's voice on the other end of the phone was raspy and tinged with regret. Hazel Wright looked at the photo in the frame on her desk, tears uncontrollably welling up in the corners of her eyes. It was a photo of her and Carter Quinn. In the picture, she was nestled in Carter's arms, her eyes full of affection. After a moment of silence, Hazel spoke with determination. "Professor, I will go. Please give me 2 weeks. I still have some personal matters to handle." It took a long time before a sound came from the other end of the line. "Is this because of Carter?" Hazel bit her lip, reluctance visible in her teary eyes. Looking at the photo on the desk, she didn't answer. The professor sighed deeply and hung up first. Hazel held her phone, unable to put it down for a long time. It felt as if a piece of her heart had been hollowed out. Just then, another call came in. As soon as she answered, Carter's scolding voice blasted through. "Hazel, what the hell are you doing? Do you know you put Lydia Hall in the hospital? If you have any conscience left, get to the city hospital right now." He hung up immediately after speaking. Hazel listened, bewildered. Lydia was hospitalized. Without time to think, Hazel hung up, hurried out the door, and hailed a taxi to the city hospital. Inpatient department, 16th floor, bed 36. As soon as Hazel pushed open the ward door, she saw Carter tenderly peeling an apple for Lydia, who was lying in bed. Lydia was wearing a hospital gown, her right leg wrapped in white bandages from knee to ankle. She was beaming, eating the apple slices Carter fed her one by one. "Lydia, how did you get hurt? What happened?" Hazel approached Lydia and asked worriedly. Unexpectedly, Carter, who had just been gently coaxing Lydia, instantly changed his expression when he saw Hazel. He ruthlessly pushed her away with one hand. "Hazel, Lydia is in the hospital because of you. Stop pretending to be innocent." Hazel's eyes widened in confusion. "How is Lydia's injury my fault? Carter, I don't understand what you're saying." Carter yelled at Hazel. "You asked Lydia out yesterday and pushed her towards a taxi. Luckily, she was sent to the hospital in time and only suffered some fractures. Hazel, do you hate Lydia that much? What did she do to make you so vicious?" Carter's disgust for Hazel was palpable. Lydia, lying on the bed, spoke up to defend Hazel. "Carter, don't say that. I think Hazel didn't mean to." She tried to sit up but was stopped by Carter. "If she didn't mean to, then it was intentional. You're too kind-hearted, always speaking up for her." Carter was relentless. Hazel stood frozen on the spot. "It wasn't me." Her words were interrupted. "Enough, I don't want to hear your excuses. Lydia has to stay in the hospital for a week. You will make nourishing meals and bring them to her every day as compensation." Carter's words shocked her. After 5 years together, he wouldn't even give her a chance to explain. "I said it wasn't me." Tears swirled in her eyes as Hazel turned around to respond. "Hazel, you hurt Lydia like this, and you're unwilling to even bring her meals. How can your heart be so cruel?" Carter roared, acting as if Lydia were his girlfriend. "Carter, stop scolding Hazel. She'll get sad." Lydia's voice rang out, sounding like persuasion but also like gloating. Carter softened his tone slightly but still stared at Hazel with disgust. Forget it. You go. I'll stay here and keep Lydia company for you." "Who wants you to keep me company? You dummy." Lydia playfully punched Carter's chest. Watching them flirt, Hazel couldn't take it anymore and rushed out of the ward. Standing at the hospital entrance, her throat felt choked, making it hard to speak. She clenched her hands tightly until her fingernails dug into her palms. But this physical pain was nothing compared to the wound in her heart. Tears blurred her vision. It wasn't until evening that Hazel returned home. Perhaps due to the day's grief, Hazel felt dizzy, her head ached terribly, and her cheeks burned. She wrapped herself up on the sofa, waiting for Carter to return. But she waited until past midnight, and he still hadn't come back. Worried that something might have happened to him, Hazel endured her discomfort and called him. After he picked up, before she could ask, Carter said impatiently, "Don't call me if it's not important. It's late, and you'll disturb Lydia's rest." So, even this late, he was still with her. Hazel swallowed her worried words. After a long silence, she said weakly, "Carter, I think I have a fever. Can you come back and see me? There's medicine on the cabinet. Drink plenty of water. You're an adult. Do you need me to wait on you just because you're sick?" Before she could finish, the phone was hung up. "I just wanted you to care about me." Hazel muttered to herself. With no other choice, she endured the spinning sensation, got up, and boiled some hot water. Then she found a few slices of bread in the fridge and stuffed them into her mouth. She hadn't eaten all day, and taking medicine on an empty stomach would hurt her stomach. The cold bread mixed with her tears tasted bitter to Hazel, more bitter than the herbal medicine Carter used to brew for her. Hazel grew up in poverty and often ate irregularly, which gave her severe stomach problems. After they started dating, Carter felt sorry for her. He would often cook delicious meals for her, changing the menu daily. If she finished everything, Carter would praise her like he was coaxing a child. To improve her health, Carter had asked around for prescriptions. Every time Hazel fussed about not wanting to drink the medicine, he would pull her favorite candy out of his pocket like a magician to get her to drink it obediently. He had been like this for 5 years. Why did everything change after meeting Lydia? It seemed Carter wouldn't be coming back tonight. After taking her medicine, Hazel went to the bedroom to rest. The discomfort in her stomach made her toss and turn, unable to sleep, feeling her fever getting worse. In a daze, Hazel passed out. She didn't know what time it was when the noise outside woke her up. Was Carter back? Hazel struggled to get up, her face pale from the pain racking her body. Opening the door, she saw Carter cleaning up the living room. "You're back." Asking simply, Hazel realized how weak her voice sounded. Carter turned around, saw Hazel, paused for a moment, then looked away and spoke casually. "It's inconvenient for Lydia to be alone in the hospital. I have to take care of her more. Besides, if you hadn't pushed her, things wouldn't be this troublesome." "I didn't." Seeing Hazel wanting to explain, Carter cut her off directly. "Looks like you took medicine last night. See? You can take care of yourself without anyone else. Don't be so dramatic. Besides, look at Lydia. Her leg is fractured, yet she doesn't complain of pain once. She's smiling all day long, making everyone feel better. You should learn from her." From the moment he returned, every sentence was about Lydia. Hazel lowered her head silently, trying to hide her emotions. Seeing Hazel standing still at the door, Carter pulled her over and handed her a trash bag. "You don't know how to clean up the house? How can guests walk in with it like this?" Carter's tone was full of blame. Maybe he thought Hazel's illness wasn't as serious as Lydia's, or maybe he simply didn't care about Hazel's health at all. She calmly took the bag and asked casually, "Who is coming?" "Someone we know." "Lydia," Carter answered without turning his head. Her eyes suddenly widened, as if hearing a joke. "Isn't she in the hospital?" Hazel asked in disbelief. Carter replied while sweeping the floor, "The doctor said she needs rest, but she lives alone in a rental, and her parents are out of town and can't take care of her. I plan to bring her here to stay for a while." Hazel felt a buzzing in her head. Her thoughts completely froze at this moment. Moving Lydia into their home, Carter hadn't even discussed this with her beforehand. "There's only one bedroom. Where will we sleep if she comes?" Hazel tried to calm her emotions, clutching the cup in her hand tightly. "Isn't there a guest room? I've thought about it. Lydia will sleep in the bedroom, I'll sleep on the sofa, and you can sleep in the guest room." This arrangement completely disregarded Hazel's wishes. She didn't want to argue with Carter anymore. Carter only cared about Lydia now. A helpless, bitter smile tugged at the corner of her mouth, her spirit seemingly drained in an instant. Her eyes lost their light as she stumbled out of the living room. Back in her room, she clutched her chest, squatted on the floor, and tears flowed down her cheeks like a broken dam. What was the point of her staying here? Looking at the photo of the two of them on the bedside table, Carter's eyes were full of love for her back then. She hadn't seen Carter smile tenderly at her for a long time. Putting the photo away, Hazel got up and packed all her belongings into bags. After all, these things would be thrown out sooner or later to make room for Lydia's items. Just then, Carter came in. Seeing the tear streaks on Hazel's face, he said unhappily, "What's wrong with you now? If you don't want to sleep in the guest room, you can go stay at a hotel. I'll reimburse you, okay?" He would never understand the bitterness in Hazel's heart right now. "No need, I'll leave after I pack." As soon as she spoke, Carter's phone rang. It was Lydia. He didn't shy away and pressed the speaker button right in front of Hazel. Lydia's soft voice came out. "Brother Carter, I thought about it and felt I shouldn't stay at your place. After all, it's you and Hazel's home. What am I, an outsider, doing moving in?" Hearing Lydia say this, Carter quickly replied, "Lydia, what are you saying? You guys are best friends. Now that your health isn't good, it's only right for us to take care of you. No need, I appreciate Brother Carter's kindness. I can take care of myself. Don't fight with Hazel because of me, I would feel so guilty. Anyone hearing Lydia's words would praise her for being sensible, just like Carter. He smiled and replied, all right, all right. Since you don't want to come over, I'll visit the hospital more often so you won't be alone if something urgent happens. Okay, thank you, Brother Carter. Lydia giggled on the other end of the phone. After hanging up, the smile in Carter's eyes vanished, and his gaze towards Hazel became increasingly cold. All right, Lydia isn't coming, so you don't need to leave either. Put your stuff back. Carter reached out, but Hazel dodged and put the bag behind her. No need. I'll have to take them eventually anyway. Thinking this, Hazel turned and put everything into the guest room. The guest room was smaller than the bedroom, so cleaning it was quick. Hazel didn't want to sleep in the same room as Carter anymore. Watching Hazel's small figure working hard to clean the room, her occasional coughing made Carter feel a bit unbearable. Hazel felt a pair of arms wrap around her from behind. He rested his head on Hazel's shoulder and asked softly, "She's not coming anymore, why are you still cleaning the guest room?" Feeling the man's warm embrace, Hazel's thoughts were a bit dazed. She whispered back, "I have a cold and I'm afraid of passing it to you, so I'll sleep in the guest room for now." Carter didn't say much after hearing this. He let go and went to the kitchen. Not long after, a steaming bowl of ginger milk curd appeared in front of Hazel. "Eat it while it's hot so you can get better faster." Hazel stared at the food in front of her, lost in thought until Carter's voice brought her back. She took a bite. Her mouth was filled with a rich, milky aroma with just a hint of ginger. Previously, when she was sick and refused to take medicine, Carter would always make ginger milk curd to drive away the cold and heal her. He still remembered the taste she liked. As Hazel ate, she began to shed tears again. Carter didn't show impatient disgust this time. Instead, he gently wiped away her tears and sighed. "Hayes, I know I've neglected you recently because of Lydia, but she's still your best friend, you know." Lydia grew up in a single-parent family. She never experienced parental love since childhood. It's a miracle she has such a sunny and cheerful personality now. We should help her more and care for her more. Hazel didn't know when Carter had found out so much about Lydia's situation. She had only introduced them 3 months ago. Hazel ignored Carter's words and lowered her head in a daze to eat the food in front of her. Seeing her like this, Carter didn't want to continue coaxing her. He got up, grabbed his coat, and walked toward the door. "I'm going to see Lydia." Dropping this sentence, Carter left the house without looking back. Hazel looked up. Now the ginger milk curd was finished and the person was gone. Another night without him returning. She didn't have the energy to worry about Carter anymore. After taking medicine for a few days, she felt her health gradually improving. Hazel contacted her professor to ask for some materials for studying abroad. She was actually very capable. During college, many high-paying, popular companies had sent her offer letters, but she refused them because she didn't want to leave Carter. Now, she didn't want to waste any more time on him. Soon the professor called back, "Miss, right, regarding the study abroad program, I have another report here that I need you to write. I've already sent it to you. Also, there's a student in our department who also intends to go abroad. Since you live nearby, I asked him to go to you to learn a bit." Hazel was in a difficult spot. She was sick and didn't have much energy to go out. Seeing she didn't respond, the professor continued, "Miss Wright, just consider it a favor to me. Besides, you are careful and capable. I feel at ease in trusting this to you." "Okay, Professor." With it put that way, Hazel could only agree. "Great, I'll send his contact info to you. You guys arrange a time to meet." Shortly after, Hazel received a friend request on her messaging app. The two quickly agreed on a time and place to meet. Having not dressed up for too long, Hazel struggled to find a relatively decent outfit. Then she applied simple makeup to cover her haggard face. Arriving a little earlier than the agreed time, Hazel appeared at the entrance of the library. When she met the person, she regretted not asking about the gender clearly. A junior student sat obediently in front of her, staring at her with clear eyes. Hazel sat opposite him helplessly, handed the prepared materials to him, and answered any questions he had. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, the sun had set. After saying goodbye, Hazel walked towards home. Just then, Carter sent a message. "Hayes, I bought a cake and the chestnuts you love. Wait for me to come back to celebrate our dating anniversary." Only then did Hazel realize that today was their 5th anniversary. She patted her head, thinking she had forgotten such an important day, and felt a bit sorry towards Carter. Although Carter's concern for Lydia was crossing the line, she knew he had her in his heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have prepared a cake for her for the anniversary. Hazel quickened her pace home. She needed to make some delicious food for Carter, too. After working in the kitchen for a long time, Hazel set a table full of dishes, changed her clothes, and waited for Carter to come home. The sky grew dark. Hazel sat on the sofa, staring blankly at the door alone. Finally, the sound of the door opening came. Hazel ran over excitedly, meeting Carter's smiling face. "You're back, Tada Hayes, I missed you so much." Hazel's smile froze on her face. She never expected Lydia to appear before her eyes, especially today, on her and Carter's dating anniversary. Lydia gave Hazel a big hug and then barged in from the door. Carter handed the things to Hazel, freeing his hands to support Lydia and lead her to the living room. Hazel followed behind blankly. She didn't understand why Carter brought Lydia. "Wow, Hazel, I didn't know you could cook. It looks delicious." Lydia stared at the food on the table and sat down in Hazel's seat. She only knows how to cook some home-style dishes. "Next time you come, I'll show you my skills," Carter said from the side, his tone full of doting. "Is that so? I don't believe it. You just show off in front of Hazel." "I definitely support her cooking skills," Lydia said as she picked up chopsticks directly, but as she reached out, she seemed to think of something and slowly put the chopsticks down. Hazel, I didn't know today was your anniversary. Did I disturb you guys?" She blinked her big eyes, looking at Carter, acting like a child who made a mistake. "How could that be? We are definitely happy to have someone else celebrate with us." Then Carter brought the chestnuts to the table, carefully peeled them, and handed them to Lydia. His intimate behavior made Hazel, standing aside, seem like the outsider. Hazel slammed the cake she was holding onto the table heavily, causing the decorations on top to scatter. Lydia seemed frightened by her action and hurriedly got up and walked towards Carter. She bit her lip lightly, looking helpless, and looked at Hazel with teary eyes. "Hazel, are you angry? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have come. I just thought I hadn't seen you for a long time, so I—" Before Lydia finished speaking, she suddenly started crying, tears flowing out one after another, her face turning red from crying. "I'm sorry. I'll leave right now." Lydia choked with sobs, but as she turned, she was grabbed by Carter and pressed back into the seat. "Lydia is pitiful enough being alone in the hospital. Now you want to kick her out. Hazel, do you have any sympathy?" Carter lost his temper at her to defend another woman. She looked at Carter with disappointment and said slowly, "But today is our anniversary. Who wants to see their boyfriend bring another woman home?" "Hazel, do you have to be so nasty? I invited Lydia to come. Aren't you best friends? You won't even let her into the house." He didn't realize what the problem was at all. He just kept blaming Hazel. Brother Carter, don't fight with your girlfriend for me. It's my fault. If you want to be angry at me." Lydia trembled, grabbing the corner of his clothes, speaking aggrievedly. Carter turned his head to comfort Lydia. "How could I blame you? Don't be afraid." His gentle tone made Hazel feel even more pain in her heart. Lydia leaned close to Carter, the corners of her mouth turning up as if mocking Hazel. Glancing at Hazel, who was still standing aside, Carter frowned and said grumpily, "Lydia is my guest. She can't leave. If you're unhappy, you can go sleep in the bedroom." The hope she had just rekindled was extinguished by Carter himself again. Tears shimmered in her eyes, yet she still smiled. "No need. I was being too petty. You guys eat. I'll go out for a walk." Hazel turned and left the house, walking on the street with a numb expression. Her voice was choked with sobs. "Why?" Her shoulders slumped slightly, her brow revealing confusion, looking heartbreakingly fragile. Why did her Carter suddenly not want her anymore? She sniffled, her mind wandering inexplicably. She remembered the scene where they first met. Back then, he was wearing a blue shirt, looking indifferent. She didn't know why, but she was attracted to him instantly. At that time, she felt like she was being watched by heaven, destined to be with him. It was true. Without any obstacles, they fell in love like that. 5 years later, before she could wait for his proposal, he suddenly stopped loving her. Maybe he was just tired of it. She didn't know how long she stayed outside. The street was empty. Hazel's phone rang. It was Lydia. "Hazel, come back quickly. Carter is drunk and keeps calling your name." Hazel sneered. "Then please take care of him for me. I won't go back tonight." If he really liked Lydia, she would let go. "Oh, Hazel, you don't know. After you left, Carter kept drinking sullenly. Nothing could persuade him. Come back and see." Vaguely, Hazel seemed to hear Carter's weak voice gently calling Hayes. She softened after all. When she returned home, she found Lydia had already left. Carter was lying on the sofa, reeking of alcohol. Hazel struggled to help him to the bedroom. As she was getting up, she was suddenly pulled into his arms. "I'm sorry, Hayes. I was too impulsive today. I shouldn't have let you go." She broke free from his embrace and looked up at him. He held Hazel's hand and kissed it lightly. "Hayes, I swear this is the first time and the last time." Seeing that Hazel didn't want to talk to him, he held her shoulders again, looking at her and saying, "Hayes, are you still angry? I'll stay with you all day tomorrow. I won't go to work, okay?" His gaze didn't dodge or hide, showing no guilt. And Hazel, she still craved his sweet words. Carter said they would redo the anniversary. He booked a table at a restaurant, just the two of them. Hazel didn't speak, just stared at the street view outside the window. On the way to the restaurant, they passed their high school alma mater. Familiar scenes, which used to be sweet, were now like sugar-coated blades stabbing her heart. Her vision blurred somehow. The restaurant Carter mentioned was near the school. He found a window seat and sat down, expertly ordering 2 steaks. Well done for Hazel, medium for him. After the steaks were served, he carefully cut them into small pieces, removing the tough gristle. "Hayes, your stomach is bad. You can't eat raw things." The waitress serving the dishes looked envious. "Miss, your boyfriend treats you so well, so considerate." She smiled and didn't speak, just looking at Carter opposite her. She remembered that because she couldn't eat raw or cold things, Carter had quit them too. Now, right in front of her, he was putting pieces of pink meat into his mouth. The shop's semi-old decoration and dim lighting were out of place with his suit and leather shoes. Hazel had been in love with Carter for 5 years. She knew his changes best. Before, he always said the food in these small hole-in-the-wall places wasn't clean and never brought her here. Hazel was surprised by his change and sensed that he seemed to care less about her. Her heart trembled, feeling a prickling pain spreading. Just then, Carter's phone screen lit up. He immediately swiped the screen open. After reading it, his brows knitted tightly together. "Hayes, there's something urgent at the company. You go, the company needs you." She looked at him calmly, bitterness spreading throughout her body. Carter only pondered for a moment before getting up. "I'll come back later to be with you." Watching his back as he hurried into the car, she realized her face was already covered in tears. He abandoned her again. When Hazel got home, she found the junior student standing at the door. Seeing her approach, the student hurried over. "Sorry, Senior Hazel, I messaged you on WeChat but you didn't reply, so I asked the professor for your address." She had been so focused on being with Carter that she forgot to unmute her phone. Hazel was about to invite him in, but the student waved his hand and said, "No need, Senior. The professor knew you didn't have time, so he asked me to bring the study materials to you." Taking the materials, the student left. Only then did she remember that her time left in the country was running out. Putting the written report into her suitcase, she received a message. It was from Lydia. Clicking it open, it was a photo. Lydia was lying half-naked next to a man, and that man was someone she knew all too well. 3 seconds later, the photo was unsent. She didn't want to believe Carter would betray her, but the unanswered calls made her trust collapse. Her eyes lost their color, leaving only incredible despair. At this moment, she just wanted to flee this place quickly and never return. She didn't have many things. Packing wasn't trouble. A small suitcase contained her 5 years of youth. Hazel took one last look at their home and turned to leave. She booked a hotel near the airport to facilitate her overseas procedures. The old Hazel chose to stay in a strange city for Carter, putting her whole heart and soul into him. Carter used her poor health as an excuse not to let her go out to work. So Hazel stayed at home, washing clothes, cooking, and cleaning for him. She even gave up her social circle, relying only on Carter. Unexpectedly, no matter how much she gave, there would be a day of abandonment. Now she could only rely on herself. Early the next morning, Hazel's phone rang incessantly. The caller ID showed Carter. She answered the call, and Carter's anxious voice immediately came through. "Hayes, where are you? I came back and didn't see you. Also, all your things at home are gone. Carter, let's break up." Hazel thought she would be sobbing when she said this, but as it turned out, she didn't. "Hayes, what are you saying? Are you blaming me for not staying with you? There really was something at the company that day, I told you, and I said, let's break up." She repeated it firmly. There was silence on the other end for a moment, then came Carter's roar. "I don't agree. Why? Why do you want to break up with me? We've been together for so long, you can't just break up because you say so. Carter, since you don't love me anymore, let me go. Let's part on good terms." "Bullshit, how could I not love you? Have you forgotten how good I am to you?" Carter spoke faster and more urgently, as if everything was her fault. Hazel couldn't help but retort. "Love? If you loved me, would you not trust me? If you loved me, would you abandon me time and time again? If you loved me, would you lie in that woman's bed for days and nights?" Hazel finally vented the grievances of these past days. "Hazel, are you crazy? What woman? Whose bed did I lie in?" Carter asked back. "You're still lying to me. Carter, if you like Lydia, you could have told me. I wouldn't have clung to you." "Hazel, what do you mean by that? Lydia and I?" Before Carter could finish, she hung up the phone directly. She never wanted to hear the name Lydia again in her life. Carter called again and again. She simply blocked the number. For the remaining time, Hazel stayed in the hotel reviewing materials. Her feelings for Carter were completely exhausted. On the other side, Carter was frantic because he couldn't find Hazel. But just then, something happened to Lydia. Debt collectors blocked her door. Carter waved his hand and paid off her debt of tens of thousands of dollars. Before he could ask, Lydia's tears fell like rain, sobbing so hard she couldn't speak clearly. Carter had to comfort her first. She stopped crying and slowly looked up, her red-rimmed eyes looking pitiful. Softly she said, "My mom loves gambling. I used all the money I earned before to pay off her gambling debts, but I didn't expect she still wouldn't change." Choking back sobs, she continued, "This is my family matter. I shouldn't have dragged Brother Carter into this. But I really had no choice. Brother Carter, don't worry, I will definitely pay you back this money." With her just cried eyes red, her helpless appearance made anyone's heart ache. Carter immediately said, "It's hard for you to support your family. No rush on the money, pay it back when you have it. Brother Carter is so good, if only I could have a boyfriend like you." Saying this, Lydia leaned into his arms. In a trance, Carter seemed to see the old Hazel. She used to be this petite and lovely, leaning closely against him. As their eyes met, the distance between them grew smaller. Suddenly, Carter seemed to think of something and pushed Lydia away. I have something to do. You rest well at home, I'll see you next time." The sound of the door closing echoed. Lydia angrily kicked the chair in front of her. She had done so much, and Carter was almost hers. Not long after, there was a knock on Lydia's door. She thought Carter had returned and couldn't wait to open it. Unexpectedly, another man stood outside. Lydia rolled her eyes at him unpleasantly. The man retorted, not to be outdone. "Baby, you have such tricks, why not ask for more money? Then we could run far away together. That's the extent of your vision. A smart man like Carter isn't that easy to fool." The man rubbed his hands and laughed. "I was just afraid you'd be taken advantage of." Saying that, he leaned in to kiss Lydia, but she dodged him. The man was displeased. "What? You dare despise me? Don't forget I have those videos of yours." Lydia's face changed. She leaned close to the man, draped her arms around his neck, and said fawningly, "Oh, I want to take a shower first, what's the rush?" A trace of gloom flashed in her eyes, fleeting. The airport announcement sounded. Hazel walked towards the boarding gate. Looking at the ticket to London in her hand, she looked back at the city where she had lived with Carter and murmured, "Carter, you are no longer my blue sky where I can soar. Continuing to entangle is just a cage for both of us. I just want to flee from you quickly, go far away, so far that I never see you again." After arriving in London, Hazel contacted the professor first. The professor said he had arranged for someone to pick her up. She looked around and, sure enough, saw a girl holding a sign with her name. The petite girl in front of her introduced herself as Chloe Young, a companion participating in the study program with her. Chloe grew up abroad. With her help, Hazel didn't have to worry about any procedures. Changing SIM cards, exchanging currency, checking maps to get to the dorm. Chloe solved everything for her in less than an hour. Although she looked petite, she was surprisingly strong, carrying luggage upstairs with ease. The student dorms were generally apartments, one room per person. Chloe was her roommate. Before she could unpack, Chloe dragged her to a welcome party. This was organized spontaneously by students from different departments to make more friends in a foreign land. While everyone was introducing themselves, Hazel noticed the guy opposite her kept staring at her. And she felt this face was very familiar, but couldn't recall where she had seen him for a moment. Chloe spoke up suddenly. "Ethan Jones, weren't you planning to stay at school after your research? Why are you mixing with us mortals?" Her words excited the crowd. "Yeah, Senior Ethan, you're a legend in our school. The awards you've won domestically and internationally are enough for us to strive for several lifetimes. Why the sudden visit?" Everyone teased Ethan Jones one after another. "I had business here tonight, and I just heard a friend was coming, so I wanted to see her," Ethan said, but his gaze never left Hazel's face. "You guys don't mind if I crash the meal, right?" "How could we?" The crowd greeted him warmly. Hazel tried to avoid his gaze, but while looking down, she heard him ask softly, "Hazel, long time no see." How did he know her name? Thinking this, Hazel looked up instinctively, meeting Ethan's eyes, which held a faint smile. Instantly, she blushed for some reason. Seeing this, everyone started hooting. "Oh, so the friend Senior Ethan mentioned is Hazel." Feeling embarrassed, Hazel raised the glass in front of her to toast Ethan and drank it in one gulp, nearly choking. It was Chloe who slapped the table, interrupting the awkward scene. Ethan gave Hazel a deep look, then drank the wine in front of him. She had just suppressed her blushing and sat down slowly. Chloe tugged at her sleeve and winked at her. "Something's going on between you two, dear." No, we..." Hazel wanted to say they didn't know each other, but Chloe interrupted. "From the moment Senior Ethan walked in, his eyes haven't left your face." She looked at Hazel with a smile. "You saw wrong, Chloe. Impossible. Do you think I lived abroad for nothing all these years? I can see through that stuff between men and women at a glance." Hazel felt that Chloe's overly familiar personality wasn't entirely a good thing. Since being with Carter, Hazel rarely paid attention to famous people in school, which was why she had no impression of the person in front of her, let alone knowing him. Just as she was dazed, another girl spoke up. "By the way, Senior Ethan, do you have a girlfriend? I have a distant cousin who is very beautiful, want to meet her." Her sudden questions raised the atmosphere immediately. Chloe didn't want to be outdone. "Senior Ethan, if you're single, look at our Hazel. Beautiful, well-behaved, great figure, and in the same department. What a match, right?" Hazel hurriedly picked up some food and stuffed it into Chloe's mouth to stop her from talking. Amidst the laughter, Ethan's voice suddenly sounded deep. "All right, you guys, don't joke about this kind of thing. Girls have thin skin, don't tease her." Chloe made a face at him. "Is the senior feeling heartache for the junior?" Ethan smiled, didn't answer, but didn't deny it either. Hazel stole a glance at him. Their eyes met. Her cheeks heated up and she quickly looked down again. After the party ended, Hazel supported a slightly tipsy Chloe, ready to go back. The professor called suddenly. "Hazel, didn't you tell Carter about going abroad? He called me looking for you." She didn't expect Carter to disturb the professor and apologized quickly. "I'm sorry, Professor, I disturbed you because of my issues. I will handle it well, don't worry." "All right, you two are both good students. If there are problems, communicate in time. I hope you can stay together." Hazel was silent for a moment. "No need, Professor, we've already broken up." "Ah, this. Sorry to disturb you." "Goodbye, Professor." Back at the dorm, Hazel settled Chloe down. She opened her laptop and searched for her emails, only to find they were all messages from Carter. "Hazel, you actually ran abroad without a word. Do you even take me seriously? Isn't it just because I got a little closer to Lydia? Was it necessary? Hazel, you left so cruelly. 5 years of feelings gone just like that. You don't want me anymore either." "Hayes, I was wrong. Come back, okay." If it were before, she would have felt sorry for him and returned to his side regardless of everything. But now, everything about him had nothing to do with her. Hazel felt nothing in her heart and left him only one sentence. "We have broken up. Don't contact me again." Then she deleted everything related to Carter. Just as Hazel was about to rest, her phone rang. It was an unknown number. She picked up and Ethan's voice came through. "Hazel, I'm at your dorm door." She was shocked and confused. Without thinking, she quickly put on her clothes and went out. "Senior Ethan?" As soon as Hazel approached, Ethan walked towards her. "I wasn't dreaming. It really is you, Hazel." Ethan suddenly cupped her face. At such a close distance, their breaths tangled in the small space. He smelled slightly of alcohol, his eyes tinged with disbelief and indescribable bitterness. Hazel was startled by his action and pushed him away abruptly. "Senior Ethan, please don't do this. I don't think I know you." He stared blankly at Hazel. After a few seconds, he let out a bitter laugh. "I'm sorry, I was presumptuous. You really look like a friend of mine." "Even the name is the same?" Hazel asked, puzzled. "Yes, even the name is the same." Ethan answered without changing his expression. Hazel took it as a boring trick of his and turned to go back. Ethan quickly stopped her and handed her 2 invitation cards. "There's a party this weekend. Time and place are set. Everyone will be there." His eyes were shining as if he really looked forward to her coming. Hazel took the invitation and said politely, "Thank you, we'll go." "It's a promise then. Bye-bye." After saying goodbye to Ethan, Hazel still couldn't understand his words. She decided not to think about it, buried her head in the pillow, and slept. Carter got drunk after waiting for Hazel's reply in vain. Lydia tried to persuade him, but he wouldn't listen. People always start to reminisce after they lose something. He missed Hazel's gentleness, quietness, and thoughtfulness. Since knowing Hazel went abroad, he started messaging her like crazy. But she only said break up. She didn't come back, nor did she accept his apology. Even his humble pleading left her unmoved. Carter admitted he was starting to get scared. Scared that Hazel was really that decisive. But he still refused to believe it. They had been in love for 5 years, not 5 days or 5 months. He knew very well how much effort she put into this relationship. So, the current her might just be too sad, too resentful of him. But to say she really wanted to give up this relationship, Carter didn't believe it. "Brother Carter, you can't drink like this. Don't ruin your body for Hazel. Do you know I've been very worried about you recently?" Lydia appeared beside him at some point. She held down the wine bottle to stop Carter from drinking more. He pushed her away and smashed the wine bottle heavily on the floor. "Who let you in? Did I ask you to come?" "I was just too worried about you, Brother Carter. Don't be angry." Lydia threw herself onto Carter again. "Who do you think you are? Don't touch me, I have a girlfriend." Although Lydia was unhappy about being rejected, at least she was the only one by Carter's side now. Carter opened another bottle of wine. "Brother Carter, you really can't drink anymore." He wouldn't listen to Lydia at all. His mind was full of Hazel. Before Carter's eyes, all he could see was Hazel's disappointed look. No ripples, no waves, no emotions. As if he was just a stranger, an insignificant passerby in her life. Carter stood up abruptly. He wanted to find her. As he pushed the door, he was pulled back by Lydia. "Brother Carter, it's dangerous for you to go out like this." Lydia still wore that fragile look. A pair of beautiful eyes, always watery, looking like she would cry at any moment. It easily aroused the urge to protect her. "Don't drink anymore, be good and put down the bottle. I'll help you to rest." Lydia walked over, held his arm, her voice gentle and extremely concerned. Carter was about to speak, but he suddenly smelled Hazel's scent. His heart suddenly moved, and the hand that was about to push Lydia away stopped abruptly. "What did you spray? It smells so good." Carter's suddenly gentle voice made Lydia both shy and excited. "It smells exactly like her." The smile on Lydia's face froze, and an indescribable resentment slowly bred in her heart. This was exactly what she took from Hazel's house last time. Hazel didn't like using perfume, but because Carter liked the scent of gardenias, she took some to make solid perfume. This was also what Lydia observed and secretly learned. "Do you like it? As long as you like it, I'll use it every day." Lydia tilted her face up, her beautiful eyes shimmering with water, very seductive. But Carter suddenly changed his expression. Then, he even raised his hand and pushed her away forcefully. "Brother Carter?" Lydia didn't understand, trying to get close to him again. "A poor imitation." Carter looked at her coldly, then walked away without looking back. Lydia stayed in place, tears of grievance bursting out. He actually said she wasn't as good as Hazel. After a few sobs, her eyes were covered by anger. "Carter, do you think you are something good? Just a few words made you abandon Hazel. Before long, I'll make you unable to forget me too. I want both your money and you." Lydia's face was full of desire. To achieve her goal, she wouldn't care about what she had to pay. The party organized by Ethan was at his house. Although they had heard about Ethan's deeds early on, this was the first time everyone got to know him up close. At the party, everyone dressed casually, only Hazel stood out in a white dress. She couldn't help but want heaven to take away the genius, Chloe. Since assuming she had something going on with Ethan, Chloe tried her best to set them up. Hearing that Ethan personally invited her to the party, Chloe started dressing her up in the morning. She vowed to make her the center of the party, aiming to attract Ethan's attention. Facts proved that not only him, but everyone's eyes were on Hazel. This made her already stiff body dare not move even more. Ethan, in a black suit holding a wine glass, walked towards Hazel. The structured tailoring highlighted his tall figure. "Hazel, you look very beautiful today." His eyes held a smile, his tone gentle. "Thank you, you look handsome today too." The atmosphere between the two was slightly awkward. "There are too many people here, I'll take you upstairs." Perhaps seeing Hazel's discomfort, Ethan suggested. The gazes around were too obvious, and Hazel didn't want to stay here, so she followed him to the room. The soundproofing in the room was very good. Hazel could hardly hear the noise downstairs. But being alone in a room with Ethan made her even more uncomfortable. Looking around, there were many awards Ethan had won in the room. One photo stood out particularly. It was placed in the center of all the trophies. It was a photo of two children. The little boy with a bowl cut looked a lot like Ethan. Hazel walked over and examined the little girl next to him carefully. The more she looked like herself. How was this possible? She had clearly never met Ethan before, so why was there such a photo? Looking at the age, they seemed to be 8 or 9 years old. While Hazel was confused, Ethan appeared behind her at some point, startling her. "I lived in the countryside for a while when I was young. This is the friend I mentioned." He pointed to the little girl in the photo. "At that time, my parents were going through a divorce. No one cared about me, I had nothing to eat or drink. Once I was so hungry I couldn't stand it, so I snuck into a house to steal food, but I was caught by their daughter." Ethan looked at Hazel dotingly as he spoke. "That girl told me her family didn't have much food either, but she still gave me everything and told me not to steal anymore. Later I found out she often went hungry too. Sharing half of the meager food with me, that girl is an angel in my heart." Listening to his words, memories slowly surfaced in Hazel's mind. Later they finally divorced. "My father took me to the city, and we never saw each other again." His tone gradually became downcast. Then he approached Hazel and began to unbutton his shirt. Hazel thought he was going to be inappropriate and retreated backwards, trembling. Seizing the opportunity, she bolted for the door. Ethan reached out to block her. Hazel turned to stare at him, breathing rapidly. "You, what do you want to do? Don't come over." Ethan chuckled lightly, then reached for his neck and revealed something to her. Hazel looked up. It was a small amulet with the character Autumn, part of her Chinese name, Q, written on the back. Suddenly, the blurred figure in her memory became clear. Little E. Surprised and confused, she suddenly called out this nickname. The corners of Ethan's mouth turned up, and his eyes sparkled with joy. "You remembered?" He suddenly grabbed Hazel's arm, unable to hide the smile on his face. Hazel was frightened by his enthusiasm. After breaking free, she said flusteredly, I'm leaving first, you calm down." After speaking, Hazel opened the door and ran towards the stairs, accidentally bumping into a server on the way. Only after getting out did she breathe a long sigh of relief, her mind in chaos. Seeing Hazel run all the way to the door, Chloe chased after her, worried something had happened. She only relaxed after confirming Hazel was unharmed. Back in the dorm, Hazel never imagined she would meet her childhood playmate. No wonder she felt familiar at the first sight of Ethan. It was just that life in childhood was too hard, making her unwilling to recall it for a while. She remembered that little boy often came to find her with a hungry stomach, and she would share her only food with him. She called him Little E Little Ran, and he called her Little H Little Q. The day Little E was taken away by his father, she gave him her amulet, praying that he would have good food every day in the future. He made a pinky promise with her that he would come back to find her, but words of youth are always forgotten in the river of time. Unexpectedly, she really met the little E from her memory here. There was too much information in her mind. Hazel lay on the bed and fell into a deep sleep after a while. Until the next morning, Chloe knocked on the door to wake her up. Opening the door groggily, she saw Chloe throwing herself onto her excitedly. Good news, good news. Senior Ethan is coming to be our mentor. After reacting, Hazel looked at Chloe in surprise and said, "But isn't he just 1 year above us? Why would he become a mentor? Do you think Senior Ethan's trophies were for nothing? He has won world-class honors and was already retained by the school as an exception. I heard he applied for this mentorship himself." Hazel couldn't help but associate it with Ethan's attitude towards her. Thinking that they would meet every day in the future, she couldn't help frowning. Seeing her like this, Chloe raised her eyebrows and asked, "What's the progress between you two now? When are you going public?" Hazel was confused by her words and blinked. "Public with what?" Chloe pouted. "Oh, come on, how could Senior Ethan come to be a mentor for no reason, and specifically for our year? It must be because of you." Hearing this, Hazel waved her hands hurriedly. No, how is that possible? We basically..." She stopped suddenly. She couldn't say she didn't know him now. Hazel's unclear explanation made Chloe even more firm in her judgment. Then she patted her chest and said righteously, "Don't worry, I will definitely keep the secret for you. No fourth person will know." Watching Chloe skipping away, she lay back on the bed in annoyance. In addition to completing courses, the study content also required outstanding results in a project. Hazel's #1 ranking in professional courses made many people want to be in her group. She arranged everyone's responsible areas well. Although the core part was difficult, it wasn't impossible to start. Maybe because of the subject, just the start of the project took nearly a week, and Hazel was the busiest. As the project leader, she had to ensure the quality of her team. It was another late night of overtime. While everyone was concentrating on their work, someone spoke up. "Why do I seem to smell barbecue?" Another person said, "You're dizzy from work, where would there be barbecue?" "No, I really smell it." While the two were arguing, Ethan appeared at the door carrying a big bag of things and immediately said to everyone, "I passed by and bought some barbecue, come and eat." In the blink of an eye, everyone ran over and scrambled for it. "Senior, you are too good to us, thank you so much." Chloe drooled with emotion. Ethan told everyone to eat slowly, then walked into the inner research room. Hazel was worrying over the data at this moment and was somewhat surprised to see Ethan come in. "Hello, Professor Jones." She still wasn't used to calling him a teacher. Ethan smiled upon hearing this. "There's no one here now, better call me Little E, I like hearing it." Before she could answer, Ethan invited her out to eat something. "When I have no ideas, I like to eat something. After eating, I know what to do." As he spoke, he opened the bag he was carrying. The fragrant wontons instantly aroused her appetite. "Everyone has eaten, you eat some too." Hazel gave him a grateful look, then picked up a wonton and put it in her mouth, nearly getting burned. "Eat slowly, no one is fighting you for it." Ethan laughed lightly. "Haven't you fought enough?" Hazel retorted subconsciously. Unexpectedly, he laughed even louder. Hazel felt he was a bit baffling and continued to bury her head in eating. Ethan watched her silently with a pair of eyes, full of bottomless affection. "I won't fight anymore. From now on it's all yours." The voice was neither loud nor soft, just right to reach Hazel's ears. Swallowing the last wonton, Hazel hid in the research room on the pretext of research. She couldn't figure out Ethan's purpose. Looking at the research report in front of her, she simply put all her mind on the project. But what he said was indeed correct. Eating something did give her a clue. Ethan cleaned up the table and ran into Chloe, who came to hand in a report. Just looking down, Chloe had an expression of sudden realization. She teased, "I didn't expect the legendary Senior Ethan, who stays away from women, would also find excuses to send food to his girlfriend." Ethan said seriously, "We are friends." Chloe covered her mouth and snickered. Right, friends. Look at how nervous you are, I haven't even said who it is yet." Ethan was slightly embarrassed. He turned to leave, but turned back just as he stepped out the door. Do you know what girls like?" he asked somewhat shyly. Chloe looked thoughtful. "If you ask what Hazel likes, I'm really not sure. I haven't seen her use any cosmetics usually, but girls must like flowers." Ethan nodded slightly. "Are you going to confess?" Chloe changed the subject and asked. Ethan coughed lightly, rolled his eyes, and strode out of the research institute, leaving a gossiping Chloe behind. Carter had been living in a daze these days. After entrusting the company to his subordinates, he had been cooping himself up at home. He had to marvel at Hazel's cruelty. Everything about her in the room had disappeared, including their group photos where Hazel had torn off her half. He always thought Hazel wouldn't be able to live without him, so he hurt her unscrupulously. Now it seemed that he was the one who couldn't live. After breaking up with Hazel, he also wanted to turn the page, but he missed her all the time in his heart. Looking at the flight ticket to London, he gave up in the end. Disturbing her life at this time would probably make Hazel forgive him even less. Amidst thousands of thoughts, the phone rang. The caller was Lydia. He wanted to see what this woman wanted to do. As soon as the call connected, Lydia's cry for help came through. "Brother Carter, the debt collectors are here again. I really had no choice but to find you. Save me, please save me." Carter frowned. He didn't want to care about Lydia's affairs anymore, but listening to the other end of the phone, the comers seemed unkind. "Brother Carter," he started ramming the door. "I'm so scared. Will I die here?" Lydia's crying voice came. Before he could ask clearly, he heard a loud bang, followed by Lydia's scream. Carter wouldn't leave her to die no matter what, so he drove to Lydia's house immediately. On the other side, in an abandoned building, Lydia hung up the phone with a contemptuous smile on her lips. The man beside her couldn't help but praise. "With your acting skills, it's a pity not to be an actress. But after he treated you like that, will he still come to save you?" Lydia rolled her eyes at him and said, "Whether he still has feelings for me or not, I'm about to die. He can't just leave me to die." Then Lydia got up and stood on the edge of the building. With a height of more than 10 floors, one would definitely die if they fell. The man shouted from behind, "Be careful, don't fall." Lydia responded, a hideous smile crawling on her exquisite face, muttering, "The person falling won't be me." Then they began to set up the scene. Not long after, Lydia's phone rang. The man pressed the answer button. "Lydia, are you playing me? There's no one at your house at all." Carter was still angry, but a man's voice came from the other end. "Hey, I tied the person up. This broad has nothing valuable in her house. I plan to sell her overseas for money. If you pay off the $50,000 for her, I'll return her to you. The location is at Windward Tower. Don't be late." Things had come to this. Carter had to go save her no matter what. "Don't tie it so tight, you're choking me to death." Lydia yelled at the man unhappily. The man wasn't angry. Instead, he was fantasizing about life with money, laughing slyly. "What are you laughing at? If you don't act well later and he sees through it, neither of us will get away with it." Lydia cursed again. Seeing the car downstairs, the man hurriedly took out a knife and held it to Lydia's neck, waiting for Carter to appear. The second she saw him, Lydia started crying and screaming. "Brother Carter, save me." Looking at the tied-up Lydia, Carter couldn't help but show a trace of worry. Seeing him approaching, the man pointed the knife at him and chanted, "Don't come over. Where's the money? Give me the money." Carter tried to calm the man's emotions and opened the backpack he was carrying. Stacks of cash were displayed before his eyes. "There is 50,000 in this bag. Put down the knife first, and I'll give you the money." The man's eyes lit up the moment he saw the cash, but he still said fiercely, "Throw the money over, otherwise I won't release her." Saying this, he increased the force in his hand, and the knife seemed to be stained with some blood. Lydia was crying uncontrollably, but her mouth was worrying about Carter's safety. "Brother Carter, I'm not worth you risking danger to save me. Run, go call the police." "Ah, shut up, bitch. If anyone dares to call the police, none of us will survive. You throw the money quickly." The man flew into a rage out of humiliation. Carter held the money bag in one hand and reached into it with the other, touching the prepared stun baton. He slowly walked towards the man, and the man retreated with Lydia. "What are you doing? I told you to throw the money over. Don't move." Carter continued to inch forward in small steps. He determined that the man dared not strike. At this moment, Lydia also quietly untied the rope binding her hands. As Carter got closer and closer, the man had retreated to the edge of the building and couldn't retreat any further. His voice gradually choked. "Don't come over. Give me the money. Why won't you give it to me?" "Fine, no money. If there's no money, I'll take her and jump down together. Even if I die, I'll drag a cushion with me." The man's words startled Lydia. She struggled hard and threw herself at Carter's feet. Seizing the opportunity, Carter jammed the stun baton onto the man. Seeing the man unable to resist, he intended to pull him back. Unexpectedly, Lydia, who was on the side, suddenly rushed over and pushed the man down. With a loud thud, the only person who could threaten her was dead. Carter couldn't accept it for a moment. Lydia turned around, looking at Carter with horror. She gasped for breath and said, I was just too scared, so I didn't mean to." She hurriedly threw herself into Carter's arms. "Brother Carter, you saw it. He wanted to kill me, so I fought back. His death has nothing to do with me." Carter pushed her aside, looked at the corpse downstairs, and said numbly, "Call the police." Lydia's face changed instantly, and she roared. "No, we can't call the police." She stared at Carter and said word by word, "If we call the police, we both have to go to jail." Carter retorted in panic, "Why would I go to jail? The person was killed by us together." The cruelty in Lydia's eyes was like a sharp dagger. "No one lives around this building anymore, and there are no surveillance cameras. If you say you didn't kill him, who will believe it?" Looking at the calm Lydia, a chill rose down Carter's spine. "The only way now is to clean up the scene and pretend we've never been here. That man was just a vagrant. If we say he fell by accident, who would investigate?" Seeing Carter stunned on the side, she spoke again. "Think about your future. Think about Hazel. Does someone going to jail have any qualification to win her back?" Hesitating for no more than 2 seconds, Carter began to clean up the scene with Lydia. Carter drove, Lydia sat in the passenger seat, both harboring their own thoughts. Lydia couldn't go back to her home. She begged Carter to take her to his home, but Carter wouldn't allow another woman to step into his house now. Lydia's begging turned into a threat. Helpless, Carter rented an apartment for her outside, and he paid for her daily expenses. Carter couldn't help but regret getting involved with Lydia. Now that he couldn't even protect himself, he couldn't blame anyone else. Hazel's life abroad was going smoothly, and the project in hand also made progress. The title of talented scholar gradually spread. She originally thought that after Ethan became a mentor, things between them would become awkward. Facts proved that he was a very responsible mentor. He would do his best to help everyone and treat academic matters seriously. It was just that whenever he looked at her, his eyes were always extremely gentle, which often embarrassed her. She could feel his care for her, but in her heart, Ethan was still the little boy chasing after her in her memory. Returning to the dorm from the research institute, Hazel heard Chloe screaming, "Ouch, ouch," as soon as she entered. Coming to her room door, she saw gifts scattered all over the floor, and Chloe was sighing at the gifts. Hazel asked carefully, "What's wrong?" Chloe turned around and immediately started complaining to her. The content was nothing more than being too popular, with too many suitors around her, but most of these people didn't fit her taste, so she was melancholy. To be honest, Chloe's carefree personality was indeed likable. Not only guys, but girls also treated her as a confidant, occasionally helping people solve love problems. "You say these guys are dense too. They don't even ask what I like before giving gifts. I can't throw them away, and keeping them is useless," Chloe complained. "If you don't like them, you can refuse to accept them. That won't do. Rejecting people in public is too embarrassing. I don't want to be a rude person." Hazel couldn't comment on her remarks and nodded silently. "By the way, Hazel, what do you like?" "Me?" Suddenly asked this, Hazel didn't know what she liked either. "Yeah, what do you like? Clothes, shoes, bags?" She shook her head. "Then diamonds, jewelry." "Gold?" Chloe got more excited as she spoke. Looking at her, Hazel thought to herself, "These are all things you like, right?" Seeing her still shaking her head, Chloe said helplessly, "You don't like any of them? Then what about flowers?" "You must like flowers, unless you are allergic to pollen." The image of Carter flashed through Hazel's mind. When they first got together, Carter would often send her gardenias. He said no one would dislike its fragrance. Since then, she assumed she also liked gardenias. "I like jasmine." After a long time, she spoke. In fact, she had almost forgotten what jasmine smelled like. The two chatted for a while longer before Hazel went back to her room to rest. Early the next morning, Hazel handed her organized experiment report to Ethan for review. Normally, she should be solely responsible for this, but because she had areas she wasn't good at, to avoid wasting everyone's efforts, she asked Ethan for help. He agreed immediately and asked for no compensation. Hazel didn't want to owe favors and offered to treat him to dinner. Ethan didn't refuse. He chose a restaurant and sent it to her. Hazel booked a table for the weekend evening early. She didn't plan to tell Chloe she was going out for dinner. Otherwise, with her nature, hearing it was Ethan, she would definitely dress Hazel up flamboyantly again. Just thinking about it felt awkward. Hazel dressed simply, picked a decent outfit, and went over. Ethan picked a Western restaurant. Although it was weekend time, there weren't many people in the restaurant. Under the dim light, the sound of the violin lingered leisurely. She had specifically left a bit early, but she didn't expect Ethan to be already waiting for her at the door. He was still in a suit and tie. His figure under the porch light fell on the colorful and exquisite oil paintings, surprisingly not looking out of place. In comparison, Hazel's outfit was slightly plain. The two took their seats. The music echoed gently. He just looked at Hazel like that, his eyes revealing a smile. Hazel felt uncomfortable being watched by him and lowered her head slightly. She was somewhat grateful for the dim environment of the restaurant, so her blushing wouldn't be seen. The two sat opposite each other like this, only the sound of knives and forks colliding between them. She wasn't good at talking, especially eating alone with a guy. It was easy to fall into such a situation. Ethan pushed the dessert in front of him to her side. "This is the shop's signature dish. Try it, it's delicious." Hazel tasted a bit and said pleasantly, "It is delicious. If you like it, we can come often in the future." His eyes revealed endless doting and tenderness. She felt the gaze of his eyes, bit her lip uneasily, as if making an important decision, and looked up at him resolutely. "Little E, I." Before she could say the rest, Ethan raised his hand to summon the waiter, then said to her, "Follow me." He took her to the top floor of the restaurant. What came into view was a vast expanse of jasmine flowers. Pure white jasmine bloomed in the wind. The sky was filled with the scent belonging to her. Smiling, he tucked her hair behind her ear and softly said the words he had practiced in his heart. "Hazel, I like you. I've liked you since a long time ago. Give me a chance to be your boyfriend, okay?" The voice of confession was particularly clear in the quiet night. She panicked and dodged his outstretched hand. Ethan was somewhat surprised. "Little E, I wanted to say just now, it's better for us to be friends." His bright eyes dimmed, and he asked in a low voice, "Is there something I didn't do well?" Looking at him, Hazel felt a bit unbearable in her heart. "No, you did everything well. It's just that I don't want to be in a relationship right now." "I can wait." He had waited for Hazel for so many years. What did it matter to wait a bit longer? Hazel didn't understand why he insisted on her. Not wanting him to wait in vain, she decided to be honest with him. "Little E, I had a boyfriend before I went abroad. We were together for 5 years, and it's only been a month since we broke up. Under such circumstances, I won't accept anyone." Ethan's expression didn't change, he just said softly, "Was he not good to you? Whether he was good or bad is in the past. I only want to achieve results in my studies now. I won't consider other things for the time being." Hazel spoke decisively, and he didn't need to dwell on this issue anymore. Ethan plucked a jasmine flower in front of him and placed it gently in Hazel's hand. "I understand what you mean. Actually, as long as you don't hate me, it's a good thing for me. It's getting a bit cold up here, let's go down." No matter the situation, Ethan always maintained his gentlemanly demeanor. Hazel thought that after she rejected Ethan, he would stay away from her, at least not be like before. But it didn't seem to be as she expected. In fact, his gaze towards her was even hotter than before. She wanted to cry but had no tears. Day after day of high-intensity research, Hazel's body finally had problems. During class time, she was tortured by stomach pain so much that she couldn't straighten up. Chloe immediately asked for leave from the teacher to take her to the infirmary. It was just difficult for her to drag Hazel alone. Someone must have notified Ethan, because the next second he appeared in front of them. Hazel had already passed out from the pain. He carried her directly in his arms. The infirmary wasn't far from the teaching building. Chloe protected them from behind, and they arrived quickly. Hazel opened her eyes and looked at the strange ceiling. She turned her head in confusion and found Ethan pouring water aside. "You're awake. Here, drink some water." He handed the cup to Hazel. "Why are you here?" "Where is Chloe?" "The doctor said you were fine, so I let her go back to class." Ethan wasn't idle for a moment and started peeling fruit for her again, nagging while peeling. "Look at you. You have a bad stomach, yet you don't take care of it. You spend all day in the research lab without eating. Now look, it's relapsed again." There was a hint of blame in his tone. The doctor said if this illness relapses one more time, the chance of it becoming cancerous will greatly increase. From now on, you eat with me. Huh, Hazel couldn't believe it. Huh, what? As your teacher's student, I have the responsibility to supervise you to take care of your body. But don't worry about taking up your time. You do what you need to do. When it's time to eat, I'll find you. Is that not okay? Hazel fell silent. Treating her illness with herbal medicine was the best method, but being in London, conditions didn't allow it. But Ethan got hold of a prescription from somewhere and brought a bag full of herbal medicine to Hazel, instructing her to drink it all. Not only these, but also other supplements for energy and stomach health, both food and drink. Hazel suspected he had moved the entire herbal pharmacy over. Since witnessing the murder scene, Carter had nightmares all night long. On the other hand, Lydia acted as if nothing had happened, coming to see him every few days. This made him suspect that it wasn't her first time killing someone. Lydia knew well that Carter was extremely guarded against her right now. She also knew that relying solely on threats would eventually push Carter to desperate measures where both would lose. The most important thing now was to show her value and let Carter know she was still useful. Through Lydia's investigation, she learned that the company was negotiating a big order with a client. Because Carter had been asking for leave frequently recently, the company departments couldn't operate properly, and they hadn't been able to secure it. She also knew the client was a CEO in his 40s who kept 3 or 4 college students as mistresses. That night, she dressed up youthfully and beautifully, wearing a tight skirt, and pushed open the door of the private room. Seeing such a woman who suited his taste, the CEO anxiously pulled Lydia to sit next to him. Lydia hummed coquettishly, entrancing the CEO completely. A pair of fat hands touched her from top to bottom. Lydia held back her nausea and continued to seduce him. Just then, a group of reporters rushed in with cameras, flashes constantly aimed at the CEO. The CEO was extremely panicked, cursing while hiding under the table. After enough time passed, Lydia waved her hand for them to stop, then negotiated terms with the CEO. Only then did he know everything was a setup by the woman in front of him. He had no choice. If these things were exposed, his life would be over. Just like that, Lydia successfully secured the deal through unscrupulous means. At that time, Carter didn't know what was waiting for him when he entered the company. When Carter returned, he found everyone in the company congratulating him on securing the big order, praising his good eye and ability to use people. He felt baffled until he entered the office and found Lydia organizing his files. "Why are you here? How did you get in?" he asked in surprise. Lydia, wearing a professional mini-skirt and high heels, walked slowly towards him. "What, not welcoming me?" Seeing Lydia didn't answer him, Carter said angrily, "Trespassing in the office, I can call security." She directly grabbed Carter's arm and acted coquettishly. "Oh, I came to be your secretary." Carter shook off the hand she had placed on him and said coldly, "Be my secretary." "Are you qualified?" Lydia wasn't angry. Instead, she took out a contract and placed it in front of him. "The cooperation plan for Kaindu Technology has been issued. I don't know if you are satisfied." Carter picked up the contract and examined it carefully. He looked at Lydia in disbelief. "You negotiated this yourself?" Lydia nodded, the expression on her face implying this was routine. Carter lifted Lydia's chin and whispered, "I didn't expect you to have such ability." Lydia clasped his hand, bringing her lips close to his ear, seductively saying, "There's a lot you don't know, but I will show you slowly." Just then, an employee knocked on the door, and the two quickly returned to their original positions. "Come in," Carter said after straightening up. It was the sales manager. He conveyed the evening's arrangements to Carter. "Mr. Quinn, at 9 p.m. tonight, we will discuss business with the client at the Ireland Hotel. Who do you plan to arrange to go with you?" Carter looked up at Lydia and smiled slightly at the corner of his mouth. "None of you need to go. I have my own arrangement." Although the manager found it strange, he naturally couldn't contradict his boss's arrangement. After the person left, Lydia intended to continue what she hadn't finished just now, but Carter threw an investigation file at her. "What is this?" she asked in confusion. "Tonight's client information," Carter replied without looking up. Lydia understood. He really took her as omnipotent now. To gain a firm foothold, she was naturally willing to do anything. At the agreed time, Lydia came to the hotel entrance alone. She couldn't help but complain about Carter, who wasn't even willing to pick her up. Entering the private room, she found only herself, Carter, the client, and his secretary. She was the only female present. Talking business inevitably involved drinking toasts. After Carter drank a few glasses with them, he actually handed the wine pot to her. He even praised her alcohol tolerance. Seeing she couldn't refuse, Lydia could only force herself to drink a pot. Everyone present clapped and cheered. The client in front filled her glass again, his words full of excitement. Carter also reminded her from the side to meet the client's needs at all times and keep the client happy. As soon as one glass hit the bottom, another was filled. Back and forth, Lydia didn't know how much she had drunk. Unable to hold it anymore, she turned and ran to the bathroom. When she came out again, only Carter was left in the private room. Lydia's eyes were red. While hitting him, she sobbed, seeming to be extremely aggrieved. Perhaps feeling he had gone too overboard, Carter patted her back to comfort her. Not long after, he felt the breathing on his neck getting heavier. He tried to wake Lydia up, but she had already passed out drunk. Helpless, Carter could only take her back to his home. He carried her to the bed, took off her shoes, and covered her with a quilt. Just as he was about to leave, the corner of his clothes was tightly grabbed by Lydia. As he lifted his leg, Lydia suddenly exerted force. He fell onto her with an unstable center of gravity. Alcohol-laced breath sprayed on his face. Carter felt his own drunkenness surging up too. The person in front of him gradually turned into Hazel's appearance, smiling at him. He couldn't hold it back anymore and pressed down on her. When he woke up the next day, the sun was already high. Opening his eyes and seeing the naked Lydia in front of him, Carter realized what mistake he had made. He patted his head in annoyance, wishing he could kill his yesterday self. But things couldn't be undone. Just like him and Hazel, there was no possibility of being together anymore. Lydia turned over and hugged Carter, looking shy. "You're awake. What do you want to eat?" "I'll make it." Carter removed her hand, then quickly got up and dressed, keeping his back to Lydia the whole time. "What are you doing? Don't you want to take responsibility?" Carter didn't answer. "Carter, you can't treat me like this," Lydia shouted anxiously at him. As he opened the door, he turned his head and said, "My supplementary card is on the table. Swipe whatever you want to buy." With that, he left without looking back. After returning to the company, Carter plunged into work, trying to make himself so busy he couldn't stop, busy enough to forget last night's events. Until late at night, exhausted, he returned home. The living room light was still on. Lydia fell asleep on the sofa. Long ago, Hazel used to wait for him to get off work like this until she fell asleep. Carter gently stroked Lydia's face. Opening her eyes, Lydia said softly, "You're back. Pity the food is cold. I'll go heat it up." Lydia got up and walked into the kitchen. Her busy figure touched Carter's heart. If he hadn't made mistakes and driven Hazel away, their lives should be happier now. During the meal, neither of them spoke. The imagined quarrel didn't happen, which gave birth to a trace of guilt in Carter. After the meal, Lydia returned the card to him, looking indifferent. "We were both drunk yesterday. Whatever happened wasn't voluntary. Don't worry, I won't pester you to be responsible. And I didn't do it with you for money." Under the dim light, the corners of her eyes were red. She simply took all the blame on herself. Her weak appearance aroused pity. Carter held her in his arms and comforted her emotions. Where he couldn't see, the corners of Lydia's mouth curled up in a triumphant smile. Now Lydia had moved into Carter's house and replaced all the furniture with new ones, looking exactly like the hostess. Although Carter wasn't used to Lydia's actions, he had no reason to object. Although they lived together now, Carter never commuted with Lydia. After all, everyone knew he had just broken up with Hazel not long ago. After that night, Carter didn't touch her again. During the day, she was Carter's secretary. At night, she was just a woman sleeping in his room. Although Carter provided her with money now and his attitude towards her was better than before, Lydia wanted more than this. She wanted to completely replace Hazel and make Carter devoted to her. But she forgot that disgraceful people can never make it to the stage. These days, Ethan appeared at the entrance of the research room whenever it was mealtime. No matter how busy she was with work, she would be dragged back by Ethan to eat on time. But she had to admit, the meals he brought suited Hazel's taste very well. Looking at her stuffed mouth, Ethan reminded her to eat slowly every time. Chewing carefully was good for her health. Your cook makes delicious food. Can't I just support them? Hazel stuffed another mouthful and said. Ethan poured a glass of water for her. I cooked these meals myself. I don't feel at ease leaving it to others. Hazel felt a lump in her throat. She quickly drank the water in front of her and asked in disbelief, You cooked the food I ate these days? You have such good skills. If you don't believe me, you can go to my house and watch me cook, he teased. Hazel was embarrassed by his words and couldn't help saying, Actually, you don't need to do these things. Your time should be spent on more meaningful things. Ethan didn't care about her words. While cleaning up the table in front of him, he said to Hazel, To me, anything related to you is a meaningful thing. Hazel's heart trembled. She didn't dare to look up at him, afraid she would blush again, so she hurriedly said she was going back to organize data and got up to leave. Ethan took in her panic. He didn't want his feelings to burden Hazel, but how could one hold back something like liking someone? As soon as Hazel returned to the research room, she saw Chloe sneaking out. Chloe. She walked quickly to Chloe. What are you doing? I left something in the room, just came back to get it, Chloe stammered. Hazel didn't mind hearing this and just instructed her to go eat quickly. Just sitting in front of the computer, she found the order of the newly printed experimental data in front of her was a bit messy. Thinking that maybe team members saw she wasn't in the room and took it back to use themselves after all, each group's research room was different, and only group members had the keys to their own rooms. Hazel continued to verify new data. While inadvertently pulling open the drawer under the computer, she found it stuffed with candy. Only Chloe knew she liked blueberry flavor. Thinking of Chloe's panicked look just now, Hazel suddenly realized that her grimacing face every time she drank medicine must have been seen by her. Unwrapping one and putting it in her mouth, the sweet taste improved her mood a lot. The project was coming to an end. Everyone had been working hard these days, and everyone was looking forward to achieving results in the final display. But what no one expected was that the things they made with their hearts would be labeled as plagiarism. Hazel was angry and went to reason with the teacher responsible for accepting materials. Unexpectedly, the project submitted by the other party had the exact same subject as theirs. Even the experimental data was exactly the same. It was just that their submission time was a day earlier than Hazel's group. She compared her organized materials with the other group in front of the teacher, but no matter what she said, the teacher only recognized the submission time. Although angry, right now there was no evidence to prove they weren't plagiarists. Hazel returned to the research institute dejectedly. Ethan had arrived at some point. He told everyone not to panic and think carefully about why the experimental data leaked. Logically, the research rooms arranged by the school distributed keys strictly according to the standard number of people. There couldn't be a case of wrong distribution. Since other groups couldn't enter their research room, the loss of data could only be. There's a mole, everyone shouted in unison. But no one could be sure who the mole was for a moment. Hazel didn't believe anyone would betray everyone, so she persuaded the crowd to change their thinking direction. At this time, a team member shouted, It's Chloe Young. Everyone turned to look at her. The sudden accusation made her panic. Chloe's eyes were flustered, and she said uneasily, No, it's not me. How could it be me? I saw you with my own eyes going to the research room while Hazel wasn't there that day. And a few days ago, you were always wandering around the entrance of the research room without going in. You must have been keeping watch for the person stealing experimental data. His words mobilized everyone's emotions, and they accused Chloe one after another. Everyone didn't listen to her explanation and threatened to post her personal information on the school website to let everyone know she was a traitor. Under everyone's accusations, Chloe couldn't take it and ran out of the research institute. Hazel stopped everyone. She believed Chloe wouldn't be a traitor and begged everyone to give her some time to find evidence. Although everyone was willing to believe Hazel, the school was about to conduct the final project presentation soon. If they couldn't produce a work, it wouldn't just be embarrassing. More importantly, it would mean blank report cards. Everyone's study opportunity didn't come easily. Some people needed to rely on this study result to get qualifications for famous schools or olive branches from famous companies. More importantly, as the project leader, Hazel bore more pressure than anyone else. On the way Ethan took her back, Hazel kept frowning tight. He comforted her, saying things would turn around. Back at the dorm, Hazel heard Chloe crying. She poured a cup of hot water and brought it to Chloe. Seeing Hazel coming, Chloe turned her face aside and said aggrievedly, "Do you also think I leaked the data?" Hazel sighed and said, "Although I haven't known you for long, I believe this definitely wasn't done by you." Chloe turned her head, her tear-stained eyes instantly turning red. She hugged Hazel tightly, the feeling of being believed making her sob again. Hazel patted her back gently to comfort her. After she calmed down, Hazel intended to let her rest well first before asking her about related matters. Chloe spoke up at this time. "Actually, what they said about me being sneaky and wandering at the door of the research room is all true." Hazel was somewhat surprised. Chloe waved her hands hurriedly and said, I wasn't looking out for the person stealing experimental data. Oh, to tell you the truth, actually I lost my key once." Why didn't you say such a big thing earlier?" Hazel said anxiously. "I intended to tell you guys, but the key was only lost for a little while. After finding it, I forgot about it. I thought it wasn't a big deal." Chloe said regretfully. In previous years, many projects were ruined because of key theft incidents. Hazel had emphasized again and again that everyone's keys shouldn't leave their person. Anyone who lost a key must report to her and then change the locks collectively. Doing this was to ensure everyone's labor results were not destroyed. Unexpectedly, someone still found a loophole. "Where did you lose the key?" Matters having come to this, Hazel could only ask clearly first. "Just the coffee shop at the school gate. I often go there to eat." Although Hazel was angry at her careless nature, the most important thing now was to find the person who stole her key. She told Ethan about the matter and agreed to go to the coffee shop tomorrow morning to try and check the surveillance. Time was running out for them. After arriving at the coffee shop, they found the owner directly. After informing him of their purpose, the owner stated that the store's surveillance couldn't be viewed casually. Ethan immediately took out a stack of US dollars. The owner's eyes lit up instantly. Then he took them into the lounge upstairs. Through Chloe's description, they found the surveillance of that day. But unluckily, the seat Chloe sat in was exactly in a blind spot of the surveillance. They only saw a woman in white quietly taking her keys and returning them while she was searching. The interval was no more than 5 minutes. Hazel asked Chloe to hurry and recall what that woman looked like that day. But that person was wearing a mask. Obviously, she came prepared. This made Chloe unable to recall the woman's appearance at all. Their group continued to investigate the surveillance of several shops along the street, and Ethan paid for each one. Chloe admired his money power more and more. Combining the woman's movement trajectory, they finally tracked her to a small alley. The surrounding environment was dilapidated, out of place with the roadside environment. Hazel took the captured photo to ask passersby, but alas, everyone's surveillance wasn't clear, resulting in no one knowing who this woman was. Just as Hazel continued to inquire, a woman suddenly caught her attention. She was wearing a mask, head down, walking quickly past them. Hazel ran to her immediately. Before she could open her mouth, the woman suddenly started running. Ethan immediately chased after her. The woman wasn't fast, but because he wasn't familiar with the route in the alley, he was hit several times by the woman using surrounding objects. Fortunately, he finally caught the woman. Comparing the photo, it was indeed this person who took the key. Just as Hazel wanted to take off her mask, a man's voice suddenly came from behind. Turning back, they saw 7 or 8 street thugs walking towards them holding iron bars. Ethan immediately protected the 2 behind him. The caught woman gave the opposite side a look and left the scene. These little thugs looked fierce. Now they were outnumbered. If they couldn't run out, who knew what kind of beating they would suffer? Ethan had roughly figured out the route in the alley during the chase just now. He whispered to Hazel to follow his instructions later. When he said run, run, don't worry about him. But Hazel was still worried that this group of thugs would do something. She tugged lightly at the corner of Ethan's clothes, looking at him with a face full of worry. Ethan gave her a look saying not to worry, then grabbed a wooden stick beside him and rushed forward. He dodged a thug's fist sideways, then quickly counterattacked, hitting the opponent's stomach with the stick. Another person pounced from his side. Ethan turned around and elbowed him hard on the back. The leader with yellow hair waved his hand, and the underlings behind him swarmed up. Ethan showed no fear. Although he usually looked gentle and cultivated, at this moment, to protect Hazel, he seemed like a different person. Sounds of fighting rang out. Accompanied by a shout, Hazel pulled Chloe and ran forward directly. Endless screams came from her ears. After sending Chloe to the street side, she instructed her to call the police quickly, then turned and rushed into the alley again. She wanted to go back and find Ethan. At this moment, Ethan was outnumbered. An iron bar hit his arm heavily. He couldn't help groaning but still didn't retreat. Just then, he suddenly heard Hazel's voice. Little Hazel was running towards him from a distance. Her heart was full of worry and guilt, guilty for bringing trouble to Ethan, worried he would be injured by the thugs. Ethan struggled to shake off the people behind him, then grabbed Hazel and ran forward. Fortunately, the police station wasn't far from here. After the police moved out, those thugs scattered. Hazel supported Ethan, looking at the wounds on his body. She couldn't help showing a distressed look. "It hurts a lot, right?" Ethan was still comforting her at this time, gently wiping away tears from the corner of her eyes. "Seeing you're okay, it doesn't hurt anymore." Hazel slapped his shoulder angrily. Still joking at a time like this, Ethan yelled ouch, startling her. "Did I hit a sore spot? I'll rub it for you." "Oh my, I say you two should stop being lovey-dovey at a time like this." Chloe's voice sounded, interrupting his beautiful time. Ethan glanced at her lightly. Then the two helped him to the hospital together. Fortunately, Ethan wasn't seriously injured. He just couldn't do strenuous exercise recently and needed to rest for a while. As for those thugs who hurt them, because they often walked on the edge of the law, catching them wasn't easy. Moreover, people like them had their own underground organizations and might retaliate. Because it concerned Hazel's life safety, Ethan canceled the pursuit of them. "Then didn't he get beaten for nothing?" Chloe muttered softly. Although Hazel was also very angry, if they really provoked them, who knew what would happen? They could only endure it. But after this incident, it would be difficult to find that woman again. Amidst worry, Chloe suddenly said she had to go back to school. Hazel felt the matter hadn't been resolved. If she went back now, she would definitely be scolded again. But Chloe expressed that she had to bear the consequences for doing something wrong and couldn't always trouble others. After she left, Hazel could only sigh helplessly. Not only did she not catch the person after all that work, but she also got Ethan involved. Looking at Hazel's frowning face, Ethan handed a file bag to her. "What is this? Open it and see." Hazel opened the file with doubt. The content inside surprised her. "Isn't this my backup plan? You still kept it. You have to have a plan B for everything, otherwise how do you deal with emergencies?" Ethan said seriously. Because the subject of this backup project was too novel, she didn't announce it. Unexpectedly, it helped now. Although this only had a general direction, fortunately the research wasn't difficult, and the remaining days were enough to perfect it. She looked at Ethan in front of her and then hugged him excitedly. "Little thank you so much. I forgot I had another project." The corners of Ethan's mouth rose, and he quietly put his arm around her waist. A look of joy surfaced on Hazel's face. Now, with the new project, she finally had an explanation for everyone. Without bothering to say goodbye, she pushed him away and set off towards the school like a streak of smoke, leaving him alone to savor the hug just now. Inside the research room, everyone was swarming to condemn Chloe. Although she had explained she wasn't a traitor, due to her mistake, irreversible consequences were caused to everyone. The facts couldn't be refuted. She was willing to bear the consequences of her behavior. Bear the consequences? You say it lightly. Do you know I rely on this project to find a job? How do you compensate for my loss? Exactly. Which university doesn't value individual research results now? Without the project, how do you expect us to go to better schools? Everyone talked at once, their anger increasing instead of decreasing. Everyone stop and listen to me. Only after Hazel came in did everyone quiet down. Chloe indeed gave others an opportunity to exploit our project due to her own reasons, but we should target those who stole the project results. Hazel displayed the document in her hand to everyone. "I know everyone is anxious now. What I have in my hand is the new project. Later I will send everyone's responsible area to the work group. I hope everyone can complete the project quickly and accurately." Everyone was stunned at first, then burst into excited shouts. No one cared about Chloe's matter anymore. Everyone just felt they were saved. In the following time, everyone raced against time to investigate and organize the project data. Hazel spent all day in the research room, and to make up for her fault, Chloe actively helped everyone do things within her power. As for some important experimental data, she dared not slack off, wishing she could sleep holding it. Finally submitting the materials before the deadline, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Although this new project wasn't as secure as the previous one, fortunately, its innovation was strong enough. Coupled with everyone's seriousness about the project, Hazel was confident in achieving good results in the final display. Lydia tried every means to seduce Carter these days. After get off work today, she received the sexy lingerie she bought online a few days ago. She knew Carter would inevitably drink when accompanying clients this time. As long as she used some tricks, he would obediently climb into her bed. Most importantly, she wanted to get pregnant with Carter's child as soon as possible. That way Carter would marry her. By that time, even if Hazel came back, no one could replace her position. Lydia changed her clothes early, then sprayed some gardenia-scented perfume on herself. Carter drank a lot with the client. After returning home, Lydia immediately handed him honey water. Then she pulled him into the room. In the ambiguously lit bedroom, Carter felt his blood rush after seeing her outfit clearly. Under the clothes, thin as cicada wings, Lydia's curvaceous figure was faintly visible. She bit her lip lightly, eyes full of what she thought was alluring charm, walked slowly to Carter, and rested her fingers lightly on his shoulder. The familiar scent hit him. He pushed Lydia away abruptly, a flash of disgust and disdain in his eyes. "You doing this only disgusts me more." Lydia froze, the smile on her face instantly stiffened, looking at Carter in disbelief. "I did so much for you, can't I get a trace of affection in return?" Carter looked at her with no emotional fluctuation in his eyes. "You know who I love, and you can never replace her position in my heart." Lydia changed from her usual weakness and glared at Carter. Even exquisite makeup couldn't cover the anger and unwillingness on her face. "Carter, you keep saying you love Hazel, yet you are entangled with me. You were the one who left Hazel to take care of me in the hospital. Dare you say you have no feelings for me at all?" Carter frowned tight, a flash of panic on his face. "I admit I did wrong, and I don't want to continue being wrong." Lydia got more emotional. "What about me? Can't you see everything I did for you? Was I born to be cheap?" Carter's eyes became stern. "What you did was just your wishful thinking. It's better to let go early for the good of both of us." After speaking, Carter turned and left resolutely, leaving Lydia staring at his back in place. Full of expectation turned into anger. "Carter, I gave you everything, yet you dare not want me. I will never allow you to treat me like this." In the following days, Lydia didn't go to work at the company but turned to Carter's rival. Lydia always left a way out for herself. From the first day she entered Carter's company, she paid attention to all the company's partners. She also knew some inside information about the company's recent bidding plans, and she gave this news to the opponent company as a gift for joining. The sudden change interrupted Carter's originally confident plan. Carter immediately thought of Lydia, but before he could find her, something happened to the company again. The rival company exposed scandals of Carter's alcoholism and emotional disputes with multiple women. They even accompanied it with videos and voice calls. Although Carter explained repeatedly that the person inside wasn't him and the voice wasn't his, the opponent claimed this was evidence provided by Carter's secretary. He couldn't imagine this woman being so ruthless, not even caring about her own reputation to frame him. Carter's company began to fall into trouble, stocks plummeted, and partners terminated contracts one after another. People in the company felt his character was bad and submitted resignation letters en masse. And Lydia didn't stop there. She used her social connections to spread negative rumors about Carter's company in the business circle, ruining the reputation of Carter's company. At this time, Carter finally contacted Lydia. In the dim underground parking lot, the yellow lights flickered, elongating the two confronting figures. Carter's eyes were bloodshot, staring straight at the exquisitely made-up Lydia in front of him, as if trying to see through her. "Why?" Carter's voice was hoarse and carried an imperceptible tremor. "Why do you treat me like this? Why destroy my company, destroy everything I have?" Lydia raised her chin slightly, the corners of her mouth curling up in a slightly mocking smile. "Humph, Carter, why ask me now? It's not like I didn't give you a chance before." Carter frowned. Although he never thought about being with Lydia, he didn't expect the situation to be like this today. "Was I not good enough to you? Why retaliate against me like this?" Lydia sneered, the resentment in her eyes no longer concealed. "Good. You have Hazel in your heart, why accept my love? I was ordered around by you, like a toy thrown away when you don't like it. What did you take my feelings for?" In the final analysis, it was his own fault. If his attitude towards feelings for Lydia hadn't been ambiguous, so many things wouldn't have happened. "I feel happy just seeing you're down and out state now." Lydia's face was covered with a triumphant smile. Carter drove aimlessly on the street and unknowingly arrived at Windward Plaza, that abandoned building. Standing on the edge of the building, Carter's eyes were empty. The wind howled, blowing up his messy hair, as if to roll his thin body down with it. His company just went bankrupt, and former glory turned into bubbles overnight. Everyone pushed the responsibility onto him, then sold shares without hesitation and left with their own interests. Carter felt abandoned by the whole world, despair spreading like a tide in his heart. He thought of the kidnapper who fell from here. If he died too, would anyone treat him as a vagrant? After all, he was penniless now, with no one to contact. He took a small step forward. The void under his feet made him dizzy. Death seemed right in front of him, but just as he closed his eyes ready to welcome the fall, he was illuminated by a blinding light in front of his eyes. He turned to look and saw someone seem to be filming something on the opposite building. Didn't they say no one was around here? He was somewhat puzzled. Seeing the filming direction was exactly where he was standing. Carter suddenly thought, if this person had been filming here, would the thing he and Lydia did have been recorded too? Thinking of this, he suddenly rushed downstairs and ran hard to the opposite side. When he found the photographer, he found it was a college student filming here for a course assignment. Carter asked gloomily, "When did you start filming?" "Filmed for a semester, but I'm lazy, usually don't watch it." "Why do you ask?" Carter held the camera with excited expression. The student quickly took the camera back, nervous. "Are you crazy? Why take my camera?" Carter immediately expressed he wanted to buy this camera, but he had no cash and his cards were frozen. He immediately gave his car key to the student. Exchanging a car worth tens of thousands for a camera worth a few thousand, if this wasn't crazy, what was it? But who would refuse such a good deal? Still in that building, the night wind was a bit cold. The dim light flickered uncertainly, shadows dancing in the corner. Carter crossed his arms, eyes cold and sharp, staring straight at Lydia opposite. He held a video camera tightly in his hand, which contained criminal evidence enough to doom her eternally. Lydia pretended to be calm, but her trembling lips still exposed her inner fear. She tried to squeeze out a smile, but it looked uglier than crying. "Carter, what are you doing?" "Let's talk nicely." Carter sneered. "Lydia, aren't you best at threatening people? I think these things shouldn't scare you." As he spoke, he shook the camera in front of him. Lydia's face turned pale. Her eyes stared tightly at the camera in front of her as if it was a bomb that would explode at any time. You are lying to me, right? How could it be such a coincidence?" Carter advanced a step. "Fake or not, we'll know when it's published in court. Did you think you could stay at large forever?" Lydia's eyes suddenly became fierce. "Carter, don't forget that not only me, but you are also in there. If you dare to give these things to the police, big deal, we go to jail together." Carter was fearless. He looked at Lydia coldly. "I won't let someone like you continue to do evil, even if I pay the price." Inside the abandoned building, the atmosphere was tense. Lydia was completely enraged by Carter's tough attitude. Her eyes instantly filled with bloodshot lines, reason swallowed by crazy killing intent. She was like a mad lioness, suddenly pulling out a dagger from her waist. The cold light flickered with the breath of death under the dim light. She rushed towards Carter desperately, roaring. "Go to hell!" Carter was prepared and dodged sideways agilely. Lydia missed and fell to the ground due to excessive force. But she got up quickly, turned, and rushed madly at Carter again, the dagger in her hand dancing in the air. While dodging, Carter shouted loudly, "I've already called the police." "It's not too late for you to stop now." However, Lydia couldn't listen to anything at this moment. There was only one thought in her heart: kill him. Just as she waved the knife to stab Carter again, police sirens approached from far to near. She froze in horror for a moment. This moment of hesitation gave Carter a chance. He kicked Lydia's wrist hard, and the dagger fell to the ground with a clang. The police rushed into the building quickly and subdued Lydia. Lydia struggled desperately, but to no avail. She glared at Carter viciously and hissed. "You calculated me." Carter looked at the detained Lydia, with no pity in his eyes. "You brought this on yourself." Lydia was taken away by the police, along with himself. From the moment he agreed to help Lydia hide it, he also fell into a nightmare and couldn't get out. Cold handcuffs locked Carter and Lydia's hands. They were escorted by the police into the interrogation room. On the day of the exhibition, Hazel's group originally won second place. The first place was exactly the group that plagiarized their project. However, through the judge's observation, it was found that there were problems with that group's data, and their results were canceled. It turned out that after Hazel was dragged to dinner by Ethan last time, she didn't have time to verify the newly printed experimental data. No matter how powerful a plagiarist is, without real material, they will eventually reveal their true colors. Amidst cheers, everyone expressed that they must celebrate. In the club, the music was deafening, lights flashed blurrily, and everyone swayed to their heart's content on the dance floor. Hazel felt it was a bit noisy, said hello, and went out. Coming to the relatively quiet open-air balcony, she happened to meet Ethan there too. Ethan looked at Hazel's profile and said seriously, "Hazel, I really admire your ability. Because of you, the whole project came back to life. You are serious about things, have strong insight, and your calmness and decisiveness under pressure are unmatched by many." Hearing these words, a trace of warmth rose in Hazel's heart, and a faint smile appeared on her face. "Not just me, everyone worked hard. I just didn't want to admit defeat easily." Ethan shook his head gently. "I watched you working day and night in the research room, thinking then, how does this girl have such boldness?" Hazel looked up, looking at Ethan with bright eyes. "What, did you come to see me often?" "You just realized." He pinched Hazel's cheek. The atmosphere between the two became increasingly ambiguous. Ethan took a deep breath and summoned up the courage to say, "What exactly do you feel about me?" Hazel was stunned for a moment, a trace of confusion revealed in her eyes. She said slowly, "You are very good. Every time I encounter difficulties, you always help me without hesitation. When I am with you, I am very happy and very at ease." Getting such an answer, Ethan's eyes smiled. "Hazel, I will let you see my intentions more clearly." At this time, the breeze blew gently, bringing a trace of coolness of the night, but it couldn't blow away the gradually warming, ambiguous atmosphere between the two. After Hazel's project plan in school was a huge success, her ability was widely recognized. For a time, she became a focal figure on campus, and classmates approached her actively one after another. People wanting to collaborate on projects or discuss academic issues with her gradually increased. The originally quiet social circle now became lively. But amidst this noise and flattery, only Ethan stood silently behind her as always. When she was overwhelmed by the ensuing invitations and affairs, Ethan would still bring her 3 meals a day, feed her a blueberry candy after she obediently took her medicine. At the same time, he would also organize materials and plan schedules for her, giving her a moment of peace and relaxation. Even when she broke down emotionally and hid secretly, Ethan could find her. He just stayed quietly by her side like this, handed her a tissue, and after Hazel calmed down, he whispered, "I know you work hard and are capable. No matter the result, you are the best in my heart. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, I'm here." "Ethan, why are you so good to me?" Ethan's hand movement paused. He looked up at her, eyes gentle and firm. "Because from the first moment I saw you, I felt you were worth it." Hazel's heartbeat suddenly missed a beat. She lowered her head, a trace of imperceptible blush rising on her face. She didn't know how to respond, only whispering, "If only I met you earlier." Hazel looked at the person in front of her. There was no blame or impatience in his eyes, only endless understanding and support. At that moment, the defense line in Hazel's heart completely collapsed. She knew she had gotten used to Ethan's existence and began to rely on his care and companionship. "Ethan, thank you." Hazel's voice choked. Ethan reached out and gently held Hazel's hand. "Silly, no need to thank." Sunlight spilled on them through the window, reflecting two closely relying figures, as if telling the start of something beautiful. In the cafe, she and Ethan were enjoying a moment of peace when suddenly the phone rang. "Hazel, you have to return to the country quickly. Carter, he went to jail." The professor's voice was heavy and anxious. Hazel's eyes widened instantly, her hand shook violently, and the coffee cup almost dropped. "Professor, are you mistaken? How could Carter go to jail?" "This is impossible." Her voice carried obvious trembling and disbelief. "It's true, Hazel. I don't know the specific situation, but the matter is serious. You and he. You'd better come back and take a look." Her mind was in chaos, countless questions surging in her heart. Now she was full of worry for Carter and fear of the unknown truth. Hazel looked at Ethan, opened her mouth, but didn't know where to start. She knew his feelings for her well and knew what she would face returning this time. After thinking repeatedly, she finally chose to conceal it. After getting off the plane, Hazel rushed to the prison without stopping. Along the way, her heart was beating wildly, Carter's appearance constantly emerging in her mind. The moment she saw Carter in the prison meeting room, tears instantly blurred her eyes. The Carter in front of her was thin, his face haggard, eyes full of fatigue and vicissitudes. Clothes hung loosely on his body. The high-spirited young man from before seemed to have vanished. Seeing Hazel, Carter's lips trembled slightly, thousands of words surging in his eyes. His hands clenched and unclenched unconsciously. He wanted to speak, but felt his throat blocked by something. After a long time, he made a sound with difficulty, his voice hoarse and full of guilt. "Hazel, I'm sorry, really sorry. I didn't expect it to become like this. I have no face to see you." Looking at his current appearance, the past dissipated immediately. Her face carried distress. "Carter, what happened? Tell me, I don't believe you would do bad things." Just then, Lydia, who had been standing aside, suddenly rushed over. Her hair was messy, eyes revealing madness and resentment. "Hazel, it's all because of you. If it weren't for you, how could Carter not love me? I wouldn't suffer along either. You harmed me. It's you." Lydia's voice was sharp and piercing. Her hands waved in the air, as if to vent all the anger in her heart. Hazel looked at the out-of-control Lydia, her heart full of helplessness and sorrow. She just sighed deeply. This sigh was full of helplessness towards Carter, sympathy for Lydia, and being at a loss towards this chaotic situation. Hazel walked out of visiting Carter in prison with a heavy heart. Her steps were a bit stumbling, her mind constantly replaying Carter's thin and guilty face and Lydia's crazy accusations. Sunlight fell on her body, but she only felt waves of chill and confusion. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared in front of her. It was Ethan. Hazel froze instantly, eyes full of surprise. Her heart clenched fiercely, thinking Ethan would definitely blame her for hiding her return from him. However, Ethan just looked at her quietly. There was no blame in his eyes, replaced by endless tenderness and deep affection. He took a step forward, gently held Hazel's slightly trembling hands, and said, "Hazel, I know your heart is in chaos right now, and I know there are 5 years of feelings between you and Carter. But I want you to know, no matter what happens, my heart won't change. I love you, not only for your happiness and beauty, but also including your pain and troubles. I am willing to face everything with you, whether past or future." Listening to Ethan's words, tears burst out of Hazel's eyes again. This time, it wasn't because of Carter's encounter, but being moved by Ethan's understanding and tolerance. She looked into Ethan's eyes and saw their future there, a future full of love and support.